We told you that independent audit over the Walt Disney World Resort and Reedy Creek Improvement District was bad, real bad. But today we're examining just how bad it is. The name is Bond, Muni Bonds. And you're going to be very interested to find out that the Walt Disney Company may have been misusing government bonds as well as commodities and acting as a broker for other major financial institutions, not once, not twice, but perhaps institutionalized if a particular email address is to be believed. Folks, we're going to break it down right here in a resolution you may not hear anywhere else. Let's get started right now. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the WDW Pro channel. It is a joy, as always, every time you elect to join us. We are so pleased that you're here. We're also very pleased that Mexican Iron Man is joining us as well. Mike, welcome back.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Now, folks, as we get into this topic today, Mike and I were trying to access documents which were available in the past, but which are seemingly no longer available, or at least not in an easy way. And so we would recommend, if anyone is connected with CFTOD, with the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, that those exhibits that they had prepared, that those be made public again. Some URLs are broken, but we will trudge forward nevertheless as we endeavor to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve. And yes, indeed, we are today talking about perhaps one of the biggest vulnerabilities that the Walt Disney Company faces when it comes to the Walt Disney World Resort and perhaps allegedly mismanagement and significant mismanagement of some municipal bonds. We'll get straight into it right now, going to the audit itself. And this is under page 55. For those of you following along, open your textbook to page 55. Entanglement between RCID and Disney. This is D if you are looking in your glossary or your index. All right, here's what it says. It was often difficult for RCID, that's Reedy Creek Improvement District, that is the special district, the local government that was supposed to control Disney, but it turns out that Disney controlled it. It was difficult for RCID to know where RCID's responsibilities ended and Disney's responsibilities began. Now that starts off with a rather benign sort of statement. It's going to get far worse in just a moment. RCID could not always distinguish the boundaries of its authority from Disney's authority, which is problematic enough, given that RCID is a government and Disney is, well, not a government. For example, as part of an effort to make sure that there is a separation between RCID and Disney's operations as a result of Florida legislature's actions to dissolve RCID in 2022, RCID employees realized that RCID had been maintaining the landscaping at an interchange that should have been Disney's responsibility. Exhibit 57, we'd love to show you that. We can't. Separately, RCID employees needed to rely on Disney for certain locksmith services. Blah, blah, blah. More exhibits. Let's get into the part that really should have Disney, I think, worried. Mike, you may disagree, but we'll hand it to you in just a moment. Sometimes Disney used company resources to conduct district business. For example, Disney appears to have coordinated and confirmed agreements between BP Energy Company and RCID using an email address, rcid.broker@disney.com. Mike, is the Walt Disney Company traditionally a broker of this variety, or is this sort of a novel thing that we're learning?
No, well, the Walt Disney Company is not traditionally known as being a licensed municipal bond securities dealer.
Right. Disney doesn't typically sell government bonds to other private entities. What a strange thing to see here.
No.
Continuing on, though.
No.
Exhibit 64, which again, folks, we would love to show you. And when we need to be critical of either side, we'll do it. In this case, whoever's running the CFTOD website needs to get their URLs working again. That would be very nice, because we would love to show you Exhibit 64, but we can't. BP Energy agreement through Disney. Disney also arranged commodity swap transactions between RCID and JP Morgan Chase Bank. Exhibit 65. Again, we would love to show this to you. JP Morgan agreement through Disney. We could have shown this to you days ago. Unfortunately, those URLs no longer work. They go to just the documents list without any ability to actually see the documents. So that's no good, especially when we're dealing with something this big. We'd like to be able to show these to everyone, and the press should definitely have an opportunity to see them as well. On at least one occasion, Disney arranged for the RCID's public notice in the Orlando Sentinel. Exhibit 66, public notice by Disney. But let's go back now to the commodity swap transactions between RCID and JP Morgan Chase Bank, again, where Disney was acting as the go-between. Mike, what makes this so egregious in particular about this being connected to JP Morgan and this involving, again, things that usually the government is only able to pass along?
Well, let's take a step back, which is that when you're dealing with municipal securities are governed by the MSRB, which is the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, and the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. And, there's real strict rules regarding this, dealing with fair dealing, suitability, disclosures, pricing in the market, supervision, and there's all kinds of standards of conduct and all of that. And there's a separate series of licenses that you're supposed to get if you're going to be involved in this market. I believe, if I have the numbers correct, the series 50, 51, they're in this 50 series of licenses that you need, tests you have to pass, and annual review and disclosures. Of course, the regulation of these municipal bond securities are very tight. The restrictions are tight because what happens with municipal bonds is that they're tax-free, meaning that when you issue the bonds, which are a form of debt, and you put them out in the marketplace, you could have people holding on to these securities, these bonds, similar to like the way people buy stocks, and they're tax-free. So whatever earnings that are being generated or issued as part of the bond offering are tax-free. And the IRS allows this to happen, and the SEC governs and regulates this, essentially because the idea behind tax bonds, municipality, is that they provide some kind of benefit to the local area for all of, say, the taxpayers or the people in that particular tax district where a bond like this might be offered. So I see two problems off of already what you've covered so far. One is that we've got to ask ourselves, is Disney as a company and or its employees and or any of its designees and assignees acting in accordance with the legal licensing requirements related to municipal securities? And that would be a big fat no.
Well, look at this, Mike. On that point, I don't mean to interrupt you, but take a look. The email address rcid.broker@disney.com would indicate to me that not only was this happening, but it was institutionalized. Otherwise, how in the world would you have an email address that is literally RCID? I mean, you couldn't do better if somebody were to go out and harm another person, and it's a attacker at so-and-so.com. I mean, it's the craziest thing in the world to see rcid.broker@disney.com.
Yeah,
Who's the broker?
It might as well say I'm committing. I'm engaged in. I'm engaged in non-licensed activity. Come and bust me.net.
That's right, Mr. Thief at brokenoutcar.com.
Yeah. So the second issue I was going to mention has to do with the nature of the securities themselves, which is that the bond offering are supposed to be municipal and not be used in any way, shape, or form or treated as corporate bonds, which are taxable.
Right. That's where I wanted you to go with on the corporate bonds. So explain that difference, please.
All right. So when we've got corporate bonds, that's like saying, okay, let's just call it Mexican Iron Man Stark Enterprises. And I want to offer out some corporate bonds, and it's dead, and people can invest in that bond and they can hold it. But I'm going to do whatever I want with that. I'm going to maybe build a new rabbit chicken farm next to the skyscraper. I'm going to buy a boat. I'm going to build.
I already want to buy these bonds now.
Well, whatever I might use them for. The point of the matter is that the corporation that I've created, me being the president, executive officer, and director of this thing, can essentially say, hey, I'm going to offer these bonds. Now, let's be serious for a second. These corporate bonds, in order to do something related to the corporation, which could be anything. It could be a parking lot only for Platinum Club members of the Mexican Iron Man theme park experience. It could be anything that's my purpose or the corporation's purpose, versus a municipal bond, which has to have like a benevolent or some kind of communal purpose for the tax district that benefits the municipality, roads, that kind of thing, transportation, infrastructure, schools, that type of thing. versus a new institutional, I don't know, a second showers upstairs so I can take 2 showers a day type of thing in my corporation. So we've got 2 problems. One is the problem I just mentioned is, what is the nature of the securities? Are they really corporate bonds? Are they municipal bonds trying to disguise themselves, but are really behaving like corporate bonds? And the second problem, or the first thing I mentioned, which is that who's trading these things and who's involved in the dealing of these things? And is that organization or the people that within that organization even licensed, let alone regulated, in order to do this? Because that's what the law requires.
So, Mike, explain to the audience, please, what is the advantage to someone who purchases a bond if they buy a muni bond, a municipal bond, rather than a corporate bond? What advantages are held there?
Well, I mean, there's 2, right? One of them is the tax benefit, because they're not it's non-taxable interest. So you're not paying taxes on that. Then the second reason is a little bit more stability. Municipal bonds, because they're not tied to, say, the risk that's inherent in corporations. I mean, when you're dealing with a municipality, a city, a county, a state, or a special district in this case, you're dealing with something that's supposed to be stable, solid, well-regulated, and essentially it's a safer investment. If you're going to be in the bond market, you're dealing with something that not only you're going to get the tax exempt interest, but you're going to essentially be buying a bond that is less subject to, say, the credit rating or the volatile nature of a certain industry in which a company might default on those very bonds that have been
Right. It's very unlikely that a city or a state or any kind of government entity is going to go under, and so those
right,
bonds are much more trustworthy.
right.
Fair to say? Yep.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And but the issue here is that according to this audit, this independent audit, with, by the way, individuals who in the past, I guess it was more impressive to say that they were graduates of Harvard. Now it's not so much.
Well,
But yeah, you've got these independent auditors who have come in and they've come up with all of this. Now, folks, we're not here to tell you that we want to only favor one side or the other. So I'm not ignorant of the fact that there's some issues with the CFTOD board right now. The difference here is that, if an individual has perhaps had some transgressions or maybe facing some criminal or civil action against them, that is far different than an institutionalized system of corruption, which is what has been alleged for decades out of the Walt Disney Company. So that is significant, and so that's why we're not measuring these exactly the same. So we're not going to get into the CFTOD stuff unless it grows into something far bigger, because the Disney stuff is plenty big enough. Now, Mike, what I would like to demonstrate to you quickly is that there, number one, is a precedent for what happens when someone wants to, let's say, do poorly with municipal bonds. And I want to thank you for bringing this to my attention, Mike. Let's share this real quick. This out of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission.
There's been some criticism of, I know you, Valiant Renegade, and Legal Mindset, myself, and others that say, "Oh,
surely not.
Well, there's been some criticism of all of us that, and I would say you, me, Valiant, Legal Mindset, more you guys. I'm not a YouTuber, but you guys are, and so that these things don't. That we're making a lot of smoke out of nothing. Well, I draw your attention to one of several examples that I could submit on this video as we're taping it here. The SEC charges Louisiana town and former mayor with fraud in 2 municipal bond deals. Now, this is a case from June of 2022. And according to the SEC complaints, the town of Sterlington issued revenue bonds to finance the development of a water system and improvements to its existing power. They actually also charged the mayor. And here's the thing. It was brought against Twin Spires Financial LLC as well, and its owner, Mr. Aaron Fletcher, who was, guess what, an unregistered municipal advisor.
It's a great yes.
And basically what happened is that the SEC charged Sterlington, Breland, Twin Cities, and Fletcher firm with violating the anti-fraud provisions of the Exchange Act and the Securities Act for violating the fiduciary duty, violating fair dealing rules. They also overestimated and misused the proceeds of the bond, and in fact failed to disclose that they had done similar things with prior bond offerings as well. So these things happen. This is no joke. This is one, I've got several of these on deck, but I'll just bring this one up specifically because it's not like these things don't matter. It does matter.
And to Mike with
and this is not
the
about free
situation.
speech, Pro. This isn't
Oh, no,
about.
we'll get to that in just a moment.
Okay.
But the situation in Louisiana, Mike, 2 incidents. When we're talking about Disney, we're talking about decades, and we're talking about a company that had captured a local government in order to have the local government do what the corporation wanted, which was to grant these bonds that the corporation would never have access to otherwise,
Right.
and which provided a significant advantage specifically for the corporation. So all of this is just.
Right.
But let's go now, Mike, to what Disney is having to say about this, because I think you'll find this fascinating.
Oh,
This out of Fox 35,
okay.
and this is some true gamesmanship in response.
You want me to read it, or are you going to read it?
I'll read it for you.
Okay.
Here it is. This report is an exercise in revisionist history.
What?
It is neither objective nor credible, and only seeks to advance CFTOD's interests in its wasteful litigation that could derail investment within the district. I.e., if you do this to us, we won't spend money at Disney World anymore. Further, it does not change the fact that CFTOD board was appointed by the governor to punish Disney for exercising its constitutional right to free speech.
Oh, God.
Mike, you want to knock those out of the park real quick?
Oh, God. I hadn't seen this before you.
It's bad.
Oh,
this is the official Disney response to potential decades.
My first
with
two
prima facie evidence, Mike. This is not he said, she said. This is not they got somebody to testify.
Two reactions are number one is that the auditor that they brought in, the forensic auditor that they brought in, Mr. Jennings, is my God, he's like the Tom Brady of fraud detection and investigation. He's got every license under the sun. He's legend. He is epic.
He just hates free speech, Mike. That's what's going on here.
No, what he hates is people putting erroneous charges on American Express charges and then getting them reimbursed by the taxpayers. So all the while he can collect his American Express points while he's on the board.
That's not what Disney says.
Obviously not. Let's keep going. This report
also comes on the heels of numerous reports in the media which have raised legitimate concerns around the governance of the district under its new leadership.
Oh.
While the board may wish to undermine Disney's ability to continue investing in the region, again, if you investigate us, if you find out that we have done really bad things, we will stop investing in the area, i.e., get everybody spooked around this. We are extremely proud of our impact on the Central Florida economy over the past half century, and we remain committed to maintaining the highest quality experience for the tens of millions of guests who visit Walt Disney World each year. That, the statement out of Disney in regards to this, where they may have been inappropriately misusing municipal bonds, commodities, and more, all through a local government they had inappropriately, allegedly captured. Mike, your thoughts on that statement? It's bad. It's real bad.
That's analogous to me saying that I don't know, Pro, because I'm trying to think of an analogy here,
Mike,
but essentially,
if you investigate Mike's taco truck for giving people salmonella, he'll stop selling tacos in the city, and you'll rue the day you ever took on Mexican Iron Man's taco truck.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. It's a complete denial. What they should have said. Here's the interesting thing. What they should have said is that we're reviewing. For example, let's just say I'm a pro Disney, but I'm prudent. We are in the process of reviewing the reports that were recently announced at the CFT, Central Florida Tourism Oversight Board released. And if we do not believe that there are any issues of impropriety, but we are currently doing our own review and in our own investigation of the alleged independent findings. At least do that.
Yep. They're at least they're flamboyant in their responses. At least they don't hold back. It makes for fun reading, even if it is a bunch of malarkey. Micah, on the criminal side of this, can people get in trouble criminally for the misuse of municipal bonds and of commodities?
Oh, good God, yes. I mean, I'm no attorney, and I certainly don't play one on YouTube. But from an accounting and tax standpoint, I will tell you this: we've got multiple issues. We have the SEC issues. We have the municipal security oversight issues. We've got IRS issues, Pro, because there was another place. I think it was in Buena Vista years ago, and the IRS got involved. and taxes were levied. And the thing about this stuff is that sometimes these criminal or civil charges don't put people in jail, but if there's enough instances and enough situations, and certainly if there's evidence of ongoing, say, RICO type thing, where it's essentially organized, my God, there definitely is there definitely is risk that people could be. This isn't a one-off thing. I mean, I think
this is institutionalized. Yeah.
The case that we brought up earlier, there was a settlement relating in a lot of fines and some other stuff. But jail time is certainly possible. If you're going to commit fraud, Disney with this could have committed it in the worst possible way, because you're dealing with Internal Revenue Service, Securities Exchange Commission, state of Florida, and regulatory issues related to licensing, which is normally governed by FINRA. So this is really shocking. The response is extreme. As a Disney stockholder, which full disclosure I am, this is incredibly disappointing to read that was their official statement over this. It's very delusional, very ill-informed, and poor advice from a legal standpoint. Whoever's giving them legal advice and telling them that the free speech hill is the hill on which they will win this battle is giving them bad advice.
That's right. And again, folks, we would love to show you these exhibits because they are prima facie exhibits. In other words, they lay all this bare. Unfortunately, those links are broken at this time, or they lead to a different address. Not good for CFTOD in terms of we need this stuff if we're going to accurately relay this. We also, again, want to say that we are aware that there are some issues with members of the board of CFTOD right now, and that may develop into bigger things. The reason we don't cover it here, though, is the same reason that if a random employee at Disney is caught in a tryst and there are legal issues, that doesn't rise to the level that we need to cover that, because we're trying to cover things that are of a greater scope than just localized to personalities. So when it impacts entertainment, such as what the ramifications for this for Disney might be, that's when we get in here and we analyze it. We try to break it down and keep you ahead of the culture curve. Mike, thank you so much for dropping by and helping us do that today. It's been a great joy, as always, to share time with you. Folks, whenever I am not feeling well, which is very rare, your good friend Pro tries to lead a healthy lifestyle, but whenever I am not feeling well, you generally will not know about it. But in the case of laryngitis, it's hard to mask that, so I do apologize if while watching this video you thought, man, Pro sounds a little weird. It's not that I'm going through the teenage years again and squeaky. It's that I have a case of laryngitis, but apologies on that. That means we're even more appreciative that you stuck around and watched the whole video. Thank you so much for that. Consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts in regards to the Walt Disney Company, this situation with muni bonds, commodities, the response, as well as whether or not you think anybody will be held accountable in this. Also, if you have any thoughts about the CFTOD situation, feel free to drop those down, because we here do not prohibit free speech. We'll listen to it all, and we'll go where the news takes us, so long as that news intersects with entertainment and everything else that should be fun. Folks, we hope you've had a great time wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Wilton, you know you're not allowed in the kitchen. And, it smells like burning dog hair. What are you doing in here?
Well, I got a DM from Slade Wilson on how to roast Jonas. I mean, I didn't bother reading it, because I already have the perfect plan.
Wait a minute. So you're challenging Slade?
Well, not really. It's more like what Caffeine Kennedy and Kevin Feige do to Disney. A tag team of destruction. Plus, we're also making sure that everyone knows to subscribe to WDW Pro this Christmas.
Well, I appreciate you helping Pro, but doing one good thing does not make up for both of you doing a bad thing. Pro's making sure everyone gets accurate information and stays ahead of the culture curve, but, oh man, what is that smell? You're not really...
Oh, yeah, no, I'm literally roasting Jonas in the oven. I mean, I was kind of confused on where you were going with that line of questioning in the first place.
Roasting someone's a figure of speech. You don't actually cook them. Somebody! Oh my! Hang on, Jonas! Well, I I hope you're happy about what you've done this Christmas, Wilton. You almost ended Jonas.
On the brighter side, he looks great with that new tan. I guess you could say I gifted him a nice complexion.